Hey, what's up, La Familia? You crazy football-loving nutters. This is Ray Hudson, and you are luxuriating in listening to the Inter Miami podcast with the stupefyingly magnificent Jay and Alex. Two lads who are as electrifying as a hairdryer thrown into a hot tub. Stay tuned, because you know what it's going to be. It's going to be magisterial with an amplifier.
To the left, Pellegrini, inside, Pizarro Golazo! Here's the goal scorer, Morgan! A second! And he's done it again! Lewis Morgan with a second of the match! Higuain will have the goal! He's framed the top 90! It's a sensational first goal for Gonzalo Higuain!
I feel like I've waited 18 months of my life for the MLS to just come back. 18 months since I've been able to watch Inter Miami at Drive Pink Stadium, even though it's only been like literally a little less than 4 months. But hot diggity dog, did it feel so good to be able to just absorb as much MLS as one person can take this past week. And it was such a happy time in my life that when things are sad, I'm going to just think back to that weekend.
You know, it felt like, as you said, it was like 18 months, an eternity, whatever. But it was all worth it to see that beautiful South Florida sunset. The North stands were rocking. The players were behind the club. The club were behind the players. And damn, did it feel good to finally see that. You know, it was well worth the wait. I'm happy we all got to witness that unity for once in 3 years. And hopefully this is a building block of things to come, man.
Lewis Morgan died for this, you know. Lewis Morgan died for this club, for us to come back with a obviously whole new complete roster, which I think just adds up to like that anticipation and that hype of wanting to see everyone play in, you know, a real game, not just a preseason game where there's heavy rotation, but, you know, the first official match of the season. It came, it went, it was a good time for all parties involved, unless you're only solely focused on the win column. But we're going to get into all that. Let's not do that now. Welcome, everyone, to the Inter Miami podcast. I am Jay Kington, joined tonight by Mr. Than the Unit Harrington. How are you doing, buddy boy? As you flex. I love it.
I had to flex, you know. I got to make sure all the listeners can hear. Well, I wish they could see, but hey, we're working.
Nothing makes me feel better than me shirtless next to you, dressed in clothes, as your bicep is like the size of my thigh.
For all listeners, this is now your not safe for work warning. Welcome back to the Inter Miami podcast. No, man, I'm good. Like you said, MLS is back. The MLS and our football did not leave my TV at all this weekend, from EPL to MLS, from morning, noon, night. I'm fairly certain that Lucy wanted to divorce me by the end of the weekend, but hey, football's back, and that's all that matters, baby.
I hate that you said EPL because I just remembered that. I think Roman's divorcing Chelsea. Sore subject. But let's focus on MLS. Alex is not here. He's moving. He's probably also still hungover from the absolute rowdy blast we had after the game at Miscues with Vice City, per usual, man. Just the dudes have no chill. It was so much fun, but Sunday was rough. He got to use the excuse of moving to not coming to work today. I did have to go into work, and it was not that enjoyable of an experience, but hey, I don't care because the season's back, and now we're in the situation where every week we're going to be able to watch this team play, and that is really, I think, that our happy zone. Like, that's our happy place, right? Yeah, like the preseason shows are cool. The, you know, IMPC award shows that we do at the end of the season are cool, but there's just nothing like the the week to week, the chase for the shield, the chase for the playoffs. I mean, hell, you really can't beat it, man. You really can't beat it. Such a good time.
Yeah, I mean, the regular season is what it's all about. It's that race, the constant shifting back and forth, the surprising up and comers, not you, Cincinnati, and the constant table toppers. It's just great to have football back. I don't know how many times I can keep saying it.
I feel so bad for Cincinnati being so close. I've been to Cincinnati so many times. It's literally like just less than an hour away from Louisville. I feel kind of like at this point, it's just not even, it's getting sad. It was funny. Now it's getting sad. Like I met my buddies, had like his cousin's boyfriend that I met like at like their wedding party or whatever. He works for FC Cincinnati. And I was just like, hey man, like don't worry. Like at least at Miami, like we kind of feel your pain. There's been some struggles to launch, so we get it. But it's tough.
But as soon as they put out that cringy fan chant video, they should have just called it a day. Like and then they have the cojones to say that they're on par with La Familia. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
They don't season their chicken, unfortunately. But I mean, there's not been a lot of news, at the end of last week. And then right now, I think the biggest piece of news that, I was extremely excited about, and I know you're absolutely thrilled about, was that we did announce Noah Allen was signed to a short-term loan. And I think, was it a couple episodes ago, we were talking about, which of the academy products or Fort Lauderdale CF products that we really wanted to see get some exposure, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, I think your pick was Acosta. I was Allen, but I know like your second was Allen, or maybe your third was Allen. And I know you've been high up on this kid. I think you probably initially, way back when, put me onto him, and then he's kind of one of the main ones that I really was tracking throughout that. But I mean, shoot, to come into this game being so young and I mean, I don't want to spoil the game, but because we're going to do the game recap. So let's just do initial thoughts on the short-term loan of Noah Allen. What is your take on that?
You already hit the nail on the head. I've been the most excited. I've also been waiting to utter these words to everybody who listens. I told you so. The kid is fire. The loan is good for him because it's going to allow him to get up there with the first team and get the experiences like he did against Chicago. But it's also going to allow him to take this back down to the MLS next squad and bring that experience down to them, which is only going to make them better.
I mean, 17 years young, dude. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. But his talent is there. And the coaches see that. You watched the preseason where he got his start against Charlotte in the last game, and when we became the Carolina Challenge champions, baby. I mean, it's there. I'm very happy with it, obviously. But do we really think that he's going to be going back down to Inter Miami 2, which is what you said they're rebranding the MLS Next team as? But do you really think he's down there for a long time before being called back up?
I think it depends on what Phil wants to do. If he's not going to stick to 5 in the back, he might try to go with a different look that might not include Allen. It also depends on what team he's facing. Playing Allen against the Chicago is a great move because it's not that great of a club. It's going to be a good enough talent and good enough challenge to get his toes wet in the league. But I don't necessarily know if I'd put him up in a Portland game or an LAFC game yet. That like in bold capital letters, like neon yet.
Yeah.
Because he's got the poise and moxie to be able to do it with a little bit more experience under his belt.
He's got the raw talent, right? It's about, can we get him there? And I think the probably the one of the biggest factors that, we haven't really even touched on yet is Gibbs seems to still be dealing with the nagging injury. So once he's ready to go, I would have to assume that he reclaims that wingback role, that left wingback as the starter. And then, we're going to get into this discussion in the game recap as far as the formations go. What are our thoughts maybe of going back to like the 4-2-3-1? But I think everyone was happy. Before we get into the game recap, I'll just give a little sneak peek. He played a hell of a game and had an ovation when he left the pitch. So I think this is pretty good. I would like to see some more of this throughout the season. I know that there's still a few more additions the team plans to make with some, the summer window and whatnot. But, going back to last season when they, announced they were bringing up Ascona, Valencia, Frey, and then just to make that announcement to just then in turn just send them right back down to Fort Lauderdale, confused me. Why even make the big fanfare of it if you're not going to use them? So I know Phil's kind of on the same page of this MLS Next program because you can call them up for periods of time. And that's what we want to see because I don't know anyone else higher on the academy and, what was Fort Lauderdale now to be Inter Miami 2 than you. That was something you were heavy into. But I think a lot of people are starting to realize that we could have one of these great academy programs like an FC Dallas, like a Philly Union, where we can harbor this talent and then supplement in maybe some senior or maybe, one or two big name players. Cause we still are Inter Miami, and I think that's still gonna happen no matter how many times we say we want the young, hungry players. I still think there's always that flashy image and premier team in America that Beckham and Moss want this to be. But this is how it starts, man.
I would agree with you. And to go back on your Felipe and Edison and Ian point, a lot of that too was I think they wanted to prove that they are bringing the core values that Neville and Beckham grew up with, which was the Manchester United way of academy, academy, academy. And if that fails, academy. You got to have these young kids integrated with the team early on. And we actually got into an interesting conversation on the Discord. Believe it or not, one of your Chelsea faithful was talking about how the loan system works out better. But I'd argue and say that you have to have these kids, especially at a team that's on year 3, integrated with your core beliefs. Loaning them out is only going to hurt them and confuse them with what is expected with them on the loan and what's expected with them when they get back. So I love the move. If they move back down for a bit, great. But the focus from the entire organization to get the academy team up, get them experience is, the right steps towards becoming that Philly Union, FC Dallas and the likes. And I think we're finally on the right path with that.
I agree. And I think that's pivotal. I think that's crucial for us to really find the success that we're looking for here. And, give it time. We'll just continue developing these players. So before we really get into this game, do want to shout out Alex Smith. He runs the Inter Miami Dads group, and I keep getting some feedback in here. I think I'm just getting a little too excited. He runs the Inter Miami Dads group. Do want to give him a big shout out. Was texting me. Actually, he was Facebook messaging me, which I keep my phone on do not disturb for most of the time. So then Than started texting me as he was trying to get a hold of me outside the stadium. But he dropped off a sweet I don't even know, Yeti, metal koozie that reads dad with Miami and kind of a take on their crest a little bit with the big heron and a little heron as, a son or daughter locking legs with the son. I'll hold it up for you, Than. You are getting one. He will be hopefully meeting up with you when you come down here or shipping it to you. Alex will not get one because we do not know of any confirmed children that Alex has. He, I guess I can't give a final answer on that because you just never know. But you'll be getting one.
Have you checked them? Well, have you checked the metaverse? Do his metaverse kids count?
Check them. He's over here mating NFTs for sure, but NFTs doesn't get him the sweet, versatile Yeti koozie thing, which can hold, I've already tested this, bud. I'm going to undo it right now. It can hold a 12-ounce can. It can hold a 12-ounce bottle. It can hold a White Claw or a skinnier, like Miller, Mick Ultra, something like that, right? So shout out Alex Smith. This thing is dope. We'll be rocking this at the tailgates, keeping my Busch lattes so damn cold. And yeah, just wanted to make sure we share some love. So let's get into the game. High level stuff here. Come out in a draw. High level stuff here. First half, a little sketchy. Get it together in the second half. We do have some stats here that the team provided for us. So there will be, we're going to comment on a few of these, but just high level. I mean, you're looking at what I am before we kind of break this down. What were your initial thoughts?
We are definitely going to rue the chances we didn't take. We could have easily won this game. I don't know. It was nice to see that the offseason was good to the team and Phil had a vision towards this game from what I understand and from what I was watching. I just wish, and I know it's a lot to ask from the first game, but I wish we would have had a little more fluidity in our game. But I wasn't disappointed. I know there was a lot of fans that were pitchforks and torches out, like already screaming that we're no better than we were in 2022, I don't know, 2021. I'm sorry, I meant to say, but I would beg to differ. I think we're heading in the right direction. Just looking at the stats,
I think we are as well. This is a Chicago team that has revamped their attack with Kasper Schebelka coming over from the Philly Union, from Jordan Shaqiri coming over from Lyon, who, a year or two before that was with the damn Scousers, the Liverpool people that we do hate so much, you and I. That's a shared hatred in our lives. But amazing player. I mean, talented player, could shred the MLS, and to be able to not give up a goal to them, I think was a big, sign. Yeah, there were a lot of nerves, and, it's the first real game of this team. I don't think players were as settled. They started to get it in the second half, but it was a little too late on that. But what I really liked here was the back line seemed to be much more cohesive. Yes, there were mistakes made, but if say like McVay made a mistake, or Quinteros and Lowe was there to correct it or to save face for everybody, and then on the occasions that they did break through, Diop made some pretty crazy saves here for a draw. So as far as the defense goes, we're seeing potential. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because, again, it's the first season. It's probably, first game of this season, but really the first, we lost 21 players, I think, in total, right? So a complete new squad. That's promising. It's going to take time to get to where we want to go, but at least we're not conceding goals, because that seemed to be what we were plagued with last season.
I don't know. I have concerns about Quinteros, and I know it's only the first game. He got turned inside out and was the reason that a lot of our back line and Diop had to scramble and make some ridiculous saves. Not blaming him. The entire thing is not on his shoulders, but a lot of it is. Back line cohesiveness, though, I think if we would have got turned inside out by that last season, we wouldn't have recovered as well as we did, which allowed Allen and Yedlin to get up the field. So definitely some bright spots in terms of defense.
Yeah, and this was a big question, right? The left midfield starter, we knew it was going to be Gregory, we knew it was going to be Gimota. The left field was a question, which was Mo Adams. Not really sold on him. Didn't do anything horrible, but certainly didn't impress. Kind of slightly invisible out there. The other question was that right back position. Was it going to be Quinteros? Was it going to be Mabika? They do have a few options there. Obviously, it's not going to be our boy Ian Frey due to the injury. But that's a position, to keep your eye on. Quintero, fairly highly touted, right? He's plays with the Bolivian national team. He's been a member of this club since our inaugural season. We just haven't seen him because he's been on loan. But yeah, that there could be some corrections there. I think Mabika still needs to grow, but if Phil said it as well, like if this was last season, we lose that game, our heads go down, and then the game's over. And that was what plagued us. I'm okay with the bend don't break model as long as we can build off it.
Honestly, I think we see Mabika if we continue to trend downward on the aerial duels.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that height is now a weapon for us, right? So you add Mabika, I mean, it just goes up. But this will be something to certainly keep your eye on, because now we're full fly wingers. You know, I don't think our wingers had the capabilities or the tactics last year. Like, we're really requiring a lot out of Noah Allen and Yedlin, and then when Gibbs comes back, just with this slightly different formation that we're running, it really does require them to be up there.
But to be fair, we had Lewis Morgan playing a wing back spot. I mean, and he was doing the damn best he could. And then Jovan Jones was invisible half the time he was on the left side. So I think, and I'm not trying to rip anybody, but I think this year is where we start to see those building blocks into what Phil wants to do. I know I keep saying it, but Noah Allen and Yedlin is the perfect mix of youthful exuberance and the experience, the big stage experience, whether it's the U.S. men's national team. Correct me if I'm wrong. He played in Champions League or Europa League. One of the two. Doesn't matter. It's two of the highest stages in club football. So I don't know. I like the mix. As long as we have that solid back line, we'll be good to go with that.
Again, it's a work in progress. We must kind of taper our expectations, right? Because this is going to take some time to really see what happens. And we're about to get into, some of the forwards in the attack, which, same kind of theme. But all in all, I think that the defense stepped up in a big way, especially considering where we were last year, the holes that we had in that defense of last year. So like to see it. I expect us to keep improving. The fact that we kept Shaqiri in check, albeit it was his first game in the MLS, but just to be able to keep him in check is a positive sign. And then really impressed with Diop, obviously. He was the man of the match, very well deserved. We're going to be rocking with him for at least a few more games because Marsman, will not be back yet. Still dealing with a little bit of an injury. But Than, what were your thoughts on Gonzalo pulling back a little bit, playing more of the kind of like that false nine, but more honestly of like a true number 10 role? What did you see out there that you liked, or any issues that you had?
I got to be honest with you. Seeing Gonzalo drop back into the 10 is more fitting of the elder statesman of our squad. He looked good in the 10 role. You want to call it a false nine like you just referenced. I think he looked good, looking for Campagna, looking for the wingers, looking for the run and creating. He's not going to be the Gonzalo of old, blasting in 20 goals a season. He needs to facilitate more. And I think with his experience and the youthfulness of our new midfield, it's going to benefit well for the club.
I agree. And, we're going to get into the power rankings a little bit further on, but one of the highlights they made in there was that he had 7 key passes, which led the league actually this past week, and created a lot of good chances. We saw Campagna kind of dealing with the nerves. I do expect that to correct itself. I think that he really found himself in really great positions, and that once he can settle in and get more comfortable and confident with the team and his role, that we will start seeing goals drop. My only real concern here, if we're going to talk about the partnership between Gonzalo and Campagna, is I really don't like a 5-3-2 formation. I understand it. Seems more of like a safety, security kind of blanket right now. But neither Gonzalo nor Campagna are going to break anyone with their speed. I think we have those assets on the wing that are obviously much faster and could really be utilized. And I'm talking about Lassiter. I'm talking about Emerson. I'm talking about Robbie Robinson. And even, Robbie Taylor to some extent could play up there on the wing if needed. And we've been seeing these rotations, shortly after halftime of going from a 5-3-2 to a 5-2-3, then bringing on, Lassiter or Emerson and having more of a winger dynamic in there. What are your, I think you're probably more in line with the safety and security side as we kind of grow, and then maybe change formations, maybe possibly go back to like a 4-2-3-1. Where do you want to see this team right now? And then where would you like to see them, say, 2 months down the road?
So as of right now, let's stick with what we've got. We had 9 debutants out there for their first match. We weren't sure what we had. Let's be honest, Phil in some spots was band-aiding, bubblegumming, MacGyvering a back line, which personally, I'm going to speak for myself, I wasn't sure of. Quinteros, like we talked about already, it was a little iffy. But going forward, I would like to see some formation changes without handcuffing Noah Allen and DeAndre Yedlin. I like their speed up front. I mean, Yedlin almost had a penalty. I think he's dangerous. He'll be dangerous for a few more years in the MLS. I just don't want to see us take away from him. However, with Noah Allen, while he had a successful game against Chicago, I don't want youthful exuberance to put unnecessary pressure on the back line that we have right now and our backup keeper.
I agree. But, and to be fair, he almost had a penalty, but it wasn't. And that was a dive. That was definitely a dive. Appreciate the effort, but we're trying to change our old ways. So, let's get some real contact and not just go to the ground so easily. I have no issues with either of the wingbacks coming in there and having a go. Noah Allen wasn't really that far off. He had a nice chance from the left side. All for it, but we don't need. There's enough reasons to hate Inter Miami in this league. I don't want to add any more, but I really do, and we've mentioned this previously in the podcast. But I think the biggest kind of factor this year is going to be the engine that will be Gregory and Jean Mota. What did you see out there as far as their partnership that continues to develop? I honestly had in my mind them both playing CDM like together more on a 4-2-3-1. But if we're going to do this 5-3-2, add in Mo Adams, add in Robbie Taylor, whoever you want over there, I still think that Gregory and Mota will be the big ones that will be the driving force for this team. Anything out there you saw that you loved? Anything that you saw that you hated?
I'm going to be honest. I think they're going to be the linchpin going forward for a successful season for us. If they're succeeding in the middle of the park, we're going to be great. If they're off their game, we're going to struggle. A lot of last season's struggles came because our midfield just decided to disappear, and it felt like we were playing 5 up front and 5 in the back. Gregory, there's no surprise. He's going to lock it down. He's the bulldog. He's the enforcer in the middle of the park, which is going to free up Mota to make those runs, make those passes, and hell, take a shot from 30 yards out. I'm all for it. I'm here for it. But I also think, too, Mota can slot in when Gonzalo needs a break, and he'll be that key distributor, and he'll lead the key passes for each game that he's there. I like what I see, as long as we keep gelling and moving in the right direction.
I agree with that. I agree with, honestly, your assessments on both players. I think Mota is honestly more of the creator, where Gregory is more of that defensive cleanup player. And, yeah, and obviously, me. We've been playing FIFA for like 2 years, 3 years now. And I don't, hey, if you want to take a rip from 30 yards out, good on you. Go ahead and do it. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what Phil had to say after the game. Pretty in line with what anyone who watched this game would probably, take as their assessment, which was a very nervous first half, seemed to settle and grow in the second. We'll see this kind of trend probably in the first few games of the season as everyone gets comfortable and reestablished, with the league play against starters, right? A lot of preseasons, heavy rotations, so you're not going to full 90 minutes against, the best 11 or, I guess best 14 with all the subs and everything. North stands were going hard as hell. I love that. You love that. I think everyone that was at the game or saw that on TV thought it was one of those beautiful things they saw. Something that kind of made me chuckle, though, was Phil thought it was might have been toilet paper. He wasn't exactly sure what they were handing out. I guess he didn't know what streamers were. I know that's a big component of like 4th of July parades and stuff like that. I remember winding streamers through my bike spokes and all that stuff. But if that's a new tradition that we're starting, hey, I am 100% on board. What was it like seeing that from, more of the telly side?
So the telly side, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think the television crews loved it as much as everybody else did. The only thing you really saw, and it was actually kind of comical, was when Diop made that first big save, there were still streamers in and out of the net. But social media, hats off to everybody and all the various supporters groups. Everybody had great videos of it. There's great photos. I can't remember who posted it, but it was the South Floridian sunset with the North Stand just hucking all their streamers up in the air. It was a gorgeous sight. But I got to say, Phil, we're just removed from 2020. We're not going to be hucking gold up in the air like that. Toilet paper is a hot commodity. We're not going to be wasting it like that. You can't have my Charmin. Just saying.
Everyone's still scarred from the COVID shortage. But actually, Sean Messick, one of my friends from Vice City, showed me this dope video, and I messaged him Sunday. I was like, please send me that video. And he was really kind of more at the top of the in the higher stands for the supporters. And he had this video that started like real time, and then it went to slow motion as the streamers were thrown, and you just see everything get overtaken. And it was just one of the coolest videos and traditions. Like, I'm all for that. But back to more of what Phil was saying after the game. I had very high praises for Noah Allen. Noah had a really great game. He actually had his own, post-game conference due to that. But he was super proud of him, said that he has a brilliant future. The thing that kind of threw me off, and I know you don't even, like, this will probably blow your mind, was that Phil honestly was considering going with Drake Callender over Diop, but he just thought that since Diop had more experience in the MLS, that he would be the best start. I know what your thoughts are, but just for the listeners, like, what is your take on that Callender almost got the start over Diop?
Listen, if I ever see Callender start, I'm going to turn the TV off and I'm going to let the Discord tell me exactly how the game went, because I'm not going to watch it. Apparently, Phil forgot those two horrific goals where Callender forgot where he was during the preseason, including one that just rolled right by him and he had no clue where it was. I honestly don't even see, if we're talking rankings, right? Marsman's got to be our number one. Diop is 2. Dos Santos, I don't know if he's injured or if he's not ready, but he's like 3. And then I would put Gregory in goal and then maybe think about Callender as like my last shot. Like, I'm talking like Gregory pulling a Rio Ferdinand and like getting in goal after a horrific send-off. But
yeah. I would honestly, I would take Breck just for the height advantage.
Dude, Breck can catch snakes. He can catch shots. He'll be all right. But, like, I'm going to save the listeners hearing me complain for like the 4th time I've been on the pod. Callender is not ready. He should not be out there. If he's out there, we have some serious problems in goal.
As far as starting goes. Well, Phil kind of wrapped it up with like, hey, we still have a shitload of work to do. And we're going to, continue to see this team advance. But let's go ahead and move on to the man, the 17-year-old who got his start, had his mom, his dad, I think his brother, or maybe it was his sister in the stands with him, as well as a bunch of friends of his, probably from high school or, where the guys he's previously played with growing up. But how could you hate this kid? He's literally all smiles. You could tell so hard he was trying to just not grin the entire interview. You could just tell how happy he was. And then you kind of mentioned that with the previous club was pretty upset to even lose him.
Yeah. So apparently, in the academy rumor mill down in South Florida, Weston had him poached by Inter Miami when Inter Miami first opened up shop with their academy, and Weston FC has still yet to really get over that they're still a little salty. But when it was brought up during the interview, he had a little tongue in cheek and like he wanted to say something. He was smiling and he kind of just handed it with grace and continued on and just, thanked his former players for coming out and supporting him as well. So it was good to see. He handled it with class.
I mean, that's I could see why Weston FC might be a little upset. He's definitely got a lot of talent. It would not surprise me if this short-term loan deal turns into a full-on, contract with the first team for this year. He said he was extremely nervous going into the game, and I mean, who wouldn't be, right? You're 17 years old, about to come on and start your first MLS professional soccer game. But he was calmed by his teammates. It sounds like they came up to him and were like, hey, man, just like you do what you do. You go out, you play your game that we've all seen you play in practice day in, day out. We've seen you in the preseason. Just go out and do the same thing, and you're going to be fine. And I honestly think that's what he did, and that's how he kind of learned. And I think he is looking to the leaders for that mentorship, right? Looking for the Gregory, looking for the Gonzalo, people that can help him become the best person and the best player that he can be. He's incredibly humble. Noah Allen is. He was critical of his own play. He would say he mistimed some balls or he misplaced some balls. To be 17 and be able to say that, hey, everyone was praising him in the post game and everyone was, clapping when he came off the pitch. And then to come in there and be like, look, here's what I did wrong. This is what I want to work on and be better in. Like, that's something that you don't really see a lot in someone that's so young. So it's very amazing that we have such a young kid with such good character. And he mentioned that, without the academy, he doesn't think he would be the same player, and that he's really taken everything in. He's been a sponge and improved in every area or piece that was recommended by any of the coaching staff or teammates, and kind of taken that and ran with it. I think he's got an incredibly bright future with the club. This is someone that, both you and I have watched. You have really followed Fort Lauderdale probably more than I'd say 99.8% of people in this world. So you've seen them play. This was someone that you put me on to. We mentioned, I think on the previous episode, right, that, if we could have one player from the Academy of Fort Lauderdale brought up, and I think your choice was Acosta. Mine was Allen, but your second was Allen, and probably my third was Acosta, right? And the fact that we get to make these choices is simply spectacular. And there was a lot of talent on that team that we want to see continue to grow with the team. We saw Sean Hundle get chances, but I really think this academy will be the bloodline of this club. And I think we can compete with some of the greater academies like the Seattles, like the Phillies, like the Dallases, and really bring up this talent. And of course we get the best deals on them because they're homegrown players.
Absolutely. And, to touch base on Noah's match, like kind of wrap it all up, every so often in any sport, you see somebody come onto the field and you're like, holy shit, that kid has it. Mm-hmm. And like when Noah stepped out there, and, it's easy for me to be biased and to gush over the kid because I've wanted him to succeed in the worst way. But he stepped out there and I was thinking to myself, oh shit, he's ready. He's ready for this. Gonzalo blew up at him once and he kind of just stared back at him. And then there was a mutual understanding and respect that I don't think Gonzalo gave a lot of players last year. So instead of a giant blow up, it was a teaching moment. And Gonzalo realized that. But you have the backing of the club when you are a 17-year-old kid walking off the field and David Beckham leaves his seat to meet you at the field and shake your hand. Like, if I'm Noah, I am having somebody blow that up, and that is going to be the biggest photo in our house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that is huge. But to touch base on the academy side, if we want to succeed, because let's be honest, we're behind the 8 ball that is behind the 8 ball right now in terms of where our team should be. We need to follow the lead with Hendo, with Neville, with Beckham, and understand that the academy has to come first. I've had countless arguments with folks who are like, no, no, no. We need to get the big name players. We need to be splashy. We need to be like every other team in Miami. Because let's be honest, Miami fans expect the big names. They want to have the immediate impact signings. If we want to have long-term success, we need to build out of the academy. United did it. In terms of Manchester, a lot of the bigger name clubs do it. I think that's the best way we can succeed. You talked about Hundal, you talked about, Eddie Azcona, Felipe Valencia, Ethan Harden, which is another one of my dark horses to come out soon.
RIP Curry.
Yeah. Mitchell Curry. He's going to get chances elsewhere, which makes me happy, which is also going to give way to one of our youth players, which I'm excited for, but I'm keep that under lock and key until another episode. But it's definitely going to be good for us if we can keep the academy on the rise.
I agree. And he said that the athletic trainers let him keep his jersey, his kit, and that he will hopefully be able to get it signed by the team, and he wants it framed and in his bedroom. This is truly this stuff that you dream about when you're in high school, and to be able to experience that has got to be a hell of a feeling. But let's move on. So MLS is back, so that means the power rankings are back. Obviously, we have a bit of a stigma in the league, and with a draw, it's not really gonna necessarily help us out in the power rankings. People are still gonna remember what we did from last season and the previous season. So we came in at 24 out of 28. Our partner in expansion, Nashville, is number 2. And just put this in perspective, so we're at 24. Chicago is at 21. So even though it was a draw, they're giving them a little more credit. But again, I think once we settle down, Leonardo Campagna finishes these chances, I think we're going to make a climb. I think we're going to be a little bit better than the expectations that everyone had for this season as we continue to gel and mesh and build the foundation. But, next game coming up against Austin FC, expansion team from last year. We are about to enter the gorgeous man, Copa de Beautiful Man, right? Or Beautiful Man Classico, whatever it is. We've got David Beckham up against Matthew McConaughey. They do have some pretty talented players like Dominguez or Sebastian Druisi, but they're on a high horse right now, right? They scored 5 against Cincinnati, which we did last season, and we all know how we were last season. So they're on a high horse. I don't think, they're necessarily a great team. I think this is a winnable game. It's tough because there's not a ton of body of work to go off here, especially being in the East Coast. There were very few games, I think, that I watched of Austin. And if it was just for like a couple minutes at a time. But this is going to be a good game coming up Sunday at 4. I'm going to taper my expectations, though. Came out a little hot with the 2-1 Chicago prediction. So I'm going to say 1-0 against Austin. Think it will be a good game. I still think we're going to experience some troubles, maybe a little slow to start, but coming to our own. I'm confident in our defense improving as well. So I think we're going to 1-0 draw against them. What are your thoughts on Austin?
I am going to go 2-1. The boys take the victory against FC. All right. We are going to win the Copa de Beautiful Man, or whatever we're going to call it going forward. And, I think Campagna finds that clinical touch. Honestly, I think he's going to put it together. He'll be like a Chicharito or a Cavani who finds that, just finds the space and puts the ball in the back of the net where no one else really expects him to be. I think he unlocks that this week. We go home with the win and prep for a really tough next game after that.
Yeah. And it's a tough environment. That is a rowdy arena or stadium, whatever you want to call it. Their fans are very passionate. I love the city of Austin. It's an amazing city to travel. I know that we do have quite a bit of supporters and listeners that are actually traveling out to Austin. It's going to be a hell of a time. Be sure to shred up 6th Street afterwards. An amazing time. I Unfortunately, will not be able to join. How my son's birthday, and then the real birthday, or the birthday party, was pushed to the following week. So I'll also be absent for the LAFC game, which, hurts because I really wanted to be there. But you got to do what you got to do when you have the children. It's all for the children. I know I don't have to explain myself to you, sir. You know how it goes. But let's move on. Let's have a little bit of fun here. We've got fan questions and hot takes here. So kind of start with, I guess, the hot takes that we were getting on Twitter was IMCF Talk says Robbie Taylor will be our breakout player of the year. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I'm going to abstain because it's one game and it was against Chicago. However, I don't think he will ultimately be our breakout player of the year. I mean, you and I are both high on Lassiter.
Mm-hmm.
I think Campagna can break out. If Campagna finds a stride, and here's your hot take, everybody, could be going after the Golden Boot.
Yes.
Just saying.
I do agree. I actually do agree with that quite a bit. If he keeps finding himself in that attacking position, it would not surprise me. Crazier things have happened in the league. But I agree with you. I think, I would love for Robbie Taylor to be the breakout player, but I think there's a lot of competition. So you already mentioned Lassiter. That was my pick for kind of the breakout player that we discussed like an episode or two ago. But you also have like Emerson, Gene Mota. You could technically throw Robbie in there because he really is yet to break out. And then we have a whole new back line. Noah Allen, if he continues to play, he could be a breakout player, or Yedlin upon his return, or Damian Lowe. Like there's a lot of players. I hope that he is, because I want everyone to be as good as they can. But I would be, if you were going to hold a gun to my head, I'm still sticking with Lassiter. Let's move on though. Elder Barr says both teams are coming in hurt from the previous season. It was a battle of who is worst. Okay, game over and all. I think the excitement of 2022 helped. Tired of the 5-man backline. So this kind of goes back to what we were discussing about the formations in 5-3-2, 5-2-3, or do we give the 4-2-3-1 a shot? I'll start here and then I'll let you have it. I would like to see us utilize our wingers. So I would either want 5-2-3, in which I will allow the 5-man back as long as we have two wingers with, Campagna up top, or even Gonzalo. But I really want to see what this team could do in a 4-2-3-1 with Mota and Gregory as the true CDMs. Gonzalo is the cam, flanked by either Emerson, Robbie, and then Lassiter on the right side with Campagna up top. So, I will agree. I'm a little tired of it. It's not flashy. It's more conservative, and I would like to see a 4-man back line to utilize the wingers. What's your take on it?
I'm just going to reiterate what I said. We need to keep the 5 until we know what we have as a back line, because like I said, there was a lot of times where I'm watching that back line going, what in the hell are you doing? And it's going to be tough, especially when Carlos Vela comes to town. We're going to have to play another defender in the back and probably almost slot Gregory into more of like a holding center defensive mid, but like closer to the center backs. Once we're able to figure out what we have, who's available, who's going to maintain their healthy form, then we can switch into an alternate formation. But while we're still figuring ourselves out, figuring how best to gel, how best to work with each other, we need to play safe, and then we can start to get adventurous.
Okay. Fair enough. Now moving over to some questions from the Discord. So the previous ones were Twitter and Instagram, but on Discord, Don Cafecito, what will it take for Harry Neville to finally be good in fans' eyes? What would it take, Than?
It's going to take Harvey Neville quite a bit.
What did I say, Phil?
No, you said Harry. Like
Harry, sorry.
Man, what are you doing? No, but okay. I know a lot of people have asked me this, especially in the Discord, and they think it's just me watching his few games from Fort Lauderdale last year. I spent a lot of time watching him play through the United Academies as well. There was times where he looked brilliant. He looked like his dad. He looked like his uncle, rampaging through the field. And then there was times where he looked like he was completely lost. He put his defenders and his goalkeeper in bad positions, and he gave up bad goals. I need to see that he has steady growth and doesn't make those boneheaded errors going forward. I would like to see him, honestly, and I know it's going to go against a lot of folks. I'd like to see him stay another year down in Fort Lauderdale. I'm sorry, Inter Miami 2 now. I would like to see them continue to help him grow, and then he can come up when he's needed. I personally think that if they bring him up now, it's going to look a little sketch, a little suspect because of the last name on the back of his jersey.
Fair. And, you know, that nepotism is something that people are aware of and are keen of. So the next one is, does Jay think Robbie will have a breakout season now that he is smiling again? Good to see you smile, Robbie. It's something you need to do more. Really, we just enjoy seeing you smile over here. Will he have the breakout season? I'm, kind of in previous discussions here, I think I shot the under on the goals. I think he had 4 last year. I just think there's a lot of competition now on the wings with Lassiter, with Emerson. The battle between him and Emerson will be something to keep an eye on. If Emerson gets injured, then he's definitely got more of a shot. But Robbie's also had his fair share of, injury battles. So will he have a breakout season? I'm still kind of tapering my expectations, even though I am excited to see him smiling again. And then we'll move on. We got some IMCF Traveler questions. He spit out a few of us. These are very quick. Wait, are you waving me on? I can't tell. It's so dark.
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about Robbie quick.
Okay, go ahead.
So real quick, Robbie, I'm going to give you one more hot take here for the episode. I know I'm firing out hot takes right now. Robbie, if he does not start to produce this season, Inter Miami moves on from Robbie.
Yeah.
It's nothing personal to Robbie. It's nothing. I don't have a grudge against Robbie, but they have to start looking at what was drafted around him and what the other clubs are getting from that same draft class. He's not producing to the expectations. I also think you see if Indy Vasilev comes back that offers another winger who can play both sides, Robbie's going to be the odd man out, because you can't sit here and tell me you would start Robbie over Indy, a healthy Indy who lit up the league when he played for us last year. I mean, I don't see it.
I agree. But does Gerard let him go? That's going to be the thing.
I don't care what that Scouse does. It's just better to let him, I need him over here ASAP.
See, if Frankie would have won that coaching gig, he would have given him this. I just don't trust a Gerard over there. But moving on, IMCF Traveler. These are going to be quick ones right here. Simple kind of player over this player, right? So who would you rather have, Lassiter over Campagna?
I know we talked about it before. I know you said you wanted to be quick. I'd have to choose Lassiter over Campagna because I think Lassiter offers a little bit more. Campagna makes me a little concerned because he's played in the high cathedrals of football. His first game out was kind of a dud. So as of right now, Lassiter.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go with Campagna on this because I assume that Campagna is, we're talking about the center forward or one of the forwards here, right? I think Lassiter would be best utilized in the wing position. So I would, even though I think Lassiter is the breakout candidate of the year, I'm going to have to go with Leonardo Campagna. All right, Robbie Taylor over Mo Adams.
No question. Sorry, Mo, you let me down. 315 yet again. Can't forgive you. Got to go Robbie Taylor.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Mobika over Quinteros.
Don't ask me that question. It's got to be Mobika.
It's got to be Mobika. Plus that height. Yeah, right. We need that height in the attack. And then this one is just really, Traveler. This is what you're giving us. I know you got better than this. Diop over Marsman.
Drake count. Oh wait, my bad. Sorry. It's got to be Marsman.
It's got to be Marsman. Well, it's a few more games without Marsman, but we'll take him back with welcome arms. But hey, you know what? Diop has played very well a lot of key saves. So we'll keep our eyes on these ones. But yeah, I mean that really brings us to the end here. Slight delay, man. I mean, full disclosure, had some corrupt audio files. Had to record this over a couple days. So apologize for the delay. We will be better. I promise you, we'll be better. Again, Austin, Sunday, 4 p.m. If you don't, follow us on Instagram at EnterMIA Podcast. If you don't follow us on, oh wait, no, I backed that up. Instagram is at Enter Miami Podcast. Twitter is Enter MIA Podcast. Shoot us a DM if you want in the Discord. It's grown like 5 times the amount over the past few weeks. So nonstop banter. But as we end every single episode, vamos Miami.
Vamos Miami.